All right, everyone. Hello. How can we use the 7 factors of awakening to impact the Great Awakening? All right. Hello. I'm Thomas, and welcome to my channel. I do educational videos. Today, I'll be talking a little bit about Buddhism and how it, you know, can impact our evolution here with the what's going on today in the news and in the world, and see if they overlap, and so on. So um, we are moving faster and faster through the Great Awakening, but do we know the 7 factors of awakening? Now, in Buddhism, the term 7 factors of awakening refers to mindfulness, investigation, energy, rapture, tranquility, concentration, and equanimity. A lot of big words, but in particular, this really refers to just one of 3 of the kind of prongs of Buddhism, of Buddhist practice. Okay, so first you have training in morality. You're trying to get your thing together in terms of doing the right thing, doing good, being a compassionate and just a good person that does the right thing. And then we have training in concentration, which is more of uh, jhanic meditation. So you're trying to concentrate in meditation, and that takes you into all of these jhanas, or states of meditation, or even kind of absorptions. And many of them are very, very pleasurable. And so the concentration practices can bring you great pleasure, and also you know, some control of your mind. So that is really what the training in concentration is. Now, the third training is insight. And the training is in insight is where the 7 factors of awakening come in, primarily because um, the training in insight, unlike the prior 2 trainings, is the only training that is actually going to bring you awakening, or enlightenment, or nirvana. The 2 prior trainings have their purposes, but they're not for bringing around enlightenment or awakening. That is strictly for insight practices. And the term that Sanskrit term, vipassana, is what they generally call insight meditation. And I think that that a lot of times is misconstrued. But the way I understand, I mean, again, I'm not a Buddhist master, and so I'm not, I haven't been hanging around in a Burmese monastery for the last 50 years and picked up all the tricks. I'm just kind of telling you, where I'm coming from in my practice, and my evolution in terms of all of this stuff. But the insight practices are, moment to moment following of our bodily sensations, which include also our mental sensations. So, you're really trying to kind of speed up your mind, and being aware of all of the sensations that are occurring in your body. You have an itch on your foot, you have uh, an insect buzzing in your ear, you have a breeze blowing over your hand, and you all these things are happening very quickly, and you're trying to keep your mind on noticing and noting each one of those different sensations, and and not falling into the content of them, just just the bare sensation, not saying I like this, I don't like this, or things like that, but just staying with the bare sensation. And then that process takes you through um, you know all the stages of enlightenment. And so these are the stages of awakening. They're called nanas, and um, you make it through these through staying with that method. I guess they would call that looking for the three characteristics. So in all these sensations, you'll the three characteristics of these sensations are that they are not permanent, they come and go, they're transient, they are not self, meaning they're not you. Um, they're not dependent upon you. And then they are unsatisfactory, meaning that they don't have the capacity to satisfy. So if you can focus your mind, get your mind to follow the three characteristics of your sensations, eventually you will be led through all these different stages. So these 7 factors of awakening have to be looked at in that context. So as we start, the 7 factors are basically, they're in order, and each one kind of builds on the previous ones. So the first one is mindfulness, and I guess mindfulness means knowing what is as it is right now. So that's kind of the quickest way to define mindfulness, and it's useful at the beginning of the practice because the first 2 stages are really mind and body and cause and effect. And going through mindfulness, you can see you're able to sort out, which of these sensations are of the mind and which of them are of the body. And also to recognize that you are not either. You are not either your mind or your body. They are merely sensations. And then also that there's cause and effect, that intention leads to effects, and that sensations lead to mental impressions of those sensations. So there's a cause and effect aspect there. Once you move through that, then you get to the 3 characteristics aspect. So mind and body, or mindfulness, will get you through those first 2 stages, and then you get to the second factor of awakening, which is investigation. And investigation in particular is where you're dealing with the 3 characteristics. You want to break. You're breaking down the phenomena by thoroughly investigating your sensations. Precise, rapid investigations into all the little sensations that make up your experience. And at least from the school that I've learned this, um, you know, it's really quite a bit like a video game. You know, like if you're trying to shoot, you know, if you're playing like an action video game and you need to have your eyes trained all over the screen and you're trying to shoot the whatever, um, when as soon as they pop out, that's kind of how the investigation practice goes. Your senses are trained on everything, and you're trying to become more and more sensitive to everything that you can feel. You're trying to feel them faster and faster and faster. Now you start with, they start with talking to you about the three characteristics. So, the not self and the impermanence and the unsatisfactoriness. But if you can't really go that fast at that moment, you might want to just start with impermanence, just watching how all the sensations that occur to you, that they come and they go, and they vanish and they're gone, and there's a new one, and it comes and it goes, and they don't overlap, and they just come rapid fire. The faster you can perceive them, the more that you perceive. And so that kind of investigation goes on, and leads you into the other, factors of awakening. So the third factor of awakening is energy, which some people also translate as effort. Now, when you are doing investigative practices like that at that level, with that kind of speed, it actually gives you tremendous amounts of energy. So the energy, um, can be double-edged. It could be a problem that you have too much energy, and then it can be a problem that you don't have enough energy. Now, when you don't have enough energy, you may want to just kind of step back and remind yourself why you're doing this. What are your ultimate, raison d'être on this? Why am I doing this? And that will maybe help you build up some energy. Now, if you're too energized from the investigation, you may want to back off your practice a little bit, or do concentration practices a little bit to kind of avoid from frying yourself, because you can eventually you have to pay the piper for all that hyper energy. So you don't want to kind of go up and down and up and down. You want to be on more of an even keel, so you have to discern what kind of energy level you have and how long you can maintain that. Okay, then the fourth factor of awakening is rapture, which some people translate as joy, but I think that the joy aspect is really only one aspect of the two aspects of rapture. So joy or pleasure, enthusiasm would make up one aspect of rapture, but the other aspect is really strange meditation side effects, which also come into play in a heavy duty when you're doing Vipassana practices. You can get into a lot of pain, a lot of pleasure, movements, muscle tensions, perception distortions, strange lights. I know that I've recently gone through a spell where I thought I needed to get one of my molars taken out because my jaw pain was so bad. And I went through about 3 sleepless nights recently with major jaw pain. I thought that it was a tooth problem, but I now believe that it's a jaw problem because it did go away. And one of the Buddhist authors that I follow on this talked about his same situation at kind of the same stage in his practice, and he actually went and got his one of his wisdom teeth taken out because his jaw pain was so severe on one side of his body. So I'm monitoring the situation. Maybe I do need to get my tooth taken out ultimately, but not right now. Right now, I think that I just needed to push through that aspect of the practice. And I feel like there was some kind of a little bit of an exorcism that occurred there with that jaw pain. And then eventually something happened. There was a catharsis and it was over. So I'm not sure exactly, where I stand with that, but I think it has to do with one of the raptures, not the sense of joy, but the aspect of strange meditation side effects. Okay, now the fifth factor is called tranquility. Um, and this tranquility, it's described as spacious and silent. And really the ability to not take life too seriously, not take yourself too seriously, and just to kind of relax when there's maybe a more stressful situation. Choose to relax. Um, and then, the tranquility builds up the next factor, the sixth factor, which is concentration. Um, First of all, the tranquility helps you with the raptures. So when you're having these crazy, strange body experiences or pains related to rapture, the tranquility will help you to like ride them out and to be like, okay, just stay calm and relax into this, and I'll get through it. But then the tranquility also helps you with the next factor, concentration, which is, also translated as focus. But this concentration is not exactly what you would think of concentration. We're talking about like a moment to moment concentration. A lot of times when we think about concentration, we're thinking about, buckling down and paying attention to the same thing, for a long period of time. And here we're talking about a more fluid kind of concentration where we're concentrating or focusing on kind of a moving target, because you're getting all these sensations from all of your sense doors, so to speak, all your different senses and from your mind, and you're having to be fluid enough to move with all of those. You're riding waves more or less. So it's not really like a bearing down kind of concentration, but it's a moment to moment, minute to minute, second by second, minute by minute kind of concentration. And then the last seventh factor of awakening is equanimity, which is kind of our capacity to be okay with things, to be balanced. It's somewhat similar to tranquility, I would guess, but in the face of external or internal painful, pleasurable sensations, just to be okay with it. And really it's very spacious as well, and it can contain everything else. So, you can just kind of bottle up everything in your, in your equanimity. Now, in terms of the Great Awakening, you know, there's a historical in America. There have been two Great Awakenings, both back in the 18th century, and they were about a religious fervor, Christian evangelical fervor. And I think that sometimes people uh, use that same lens to think about the Great Awakening nowadays, and I don't really think that that's going to get it done. this time. I don't think that we can kind of point at one particular religion and one particular school of thought on how we're going to awaken. Now, I think that that's one thing that to me is attractive about Buddhist meditation, in particular Vipassana, is that it's not a dogma. You know, you experience it, and you can believe what you experience, and there's proof in the pudding. You know, they give you a method. If you follow their directions, you will go through these stages just the same way that thousands of other people in the past have done so. So if it doesn't work for you, then you can just not believe in it. And I think that this kind of awakening goes beyond the great awakening that we're perceiving right now. I mean, I think it encompasses it, but I think that this is a practice, and I do think that a person can achieve these results in a fairly short amount of time, in a few years, if they really, buckle down and kind of go into a retreat and do it hours and hours and hours a day. I don't think that it's needed to make it through this particular Great Awakening 5D thing. This path of awakening, the 7 factors of awakening, I think is probably more than 5D. So you probably don't have to get all the way to the end of the line here in order to qualify for the Great Awakening. So I'm still a little bit unsure about how Buddhist meditation practice works with the Great Awakening, but I think it goes above and beyond what's needed for the Great Awakening. But on the other hand, I do think that the other practices of Buddhism, the morality and the concentration, also need to be there, because I do think that you can be an enlightened person and you can still be pushing the cabal, the cabal stuff, because it's kind of they're kind of parallel tracks. They don't exactly run together. And if you have your act together in terms of your morality and your concentration, those things, I think, are big factors in recognizing the existence of the cabal, and recognizing that there are things that we can do to put it to an end. In particular, because we outnumber them like 1,000,000 to 1, and we just have to wake up to it and just say no in a lot of cases. And I don't think that will necessarily come out in the wash through insight practices alone. So you do, I think, have to really look at the whole of all the 3 Buddhist teachings in order to be ready for the Great Awakening. Okay, I'd love to hear your comments on this, and you can like, share, and subscribe down below. Also, if you're interested in my work on the Tree of Life, I would send you out a free copy of my annotated versions of the 144 Fractal Faculties, of which I do a lot of videos on, and I will be coming up with a new one here right quick. So stay tuned and have a beautiful day.